We have a word for everything. We name mountains, we chart the seas, we classify the stars. We believe that if we can name a thing, we can understand it, that we can control it. But the oldest parts of the world don't care about our words. They have their own names for things, and for the spaces in between. Owen's world was a 100-foot tower and 1,000,000 miles of trees. For the past 5 summers, he'd worked as a fire lookout at Station K7, a remote outpost in the heart of the Siberian taiga. His only companions were the radio, his books, and the vast, breathing wilderness. He loved the rhythm of the place, the slow cycle of growth and decay, of life and death. He saw the forest not as a collection of trees, but as a single, ancient organism. And his job was to watch it breathe. A month ago, a dry lightning storm had swept through. A single bolt struck a ridge about 5 miles to his north, starting a fire. It was routine. Owen made the call, a team was flown in, and the fire was contained within a day. It left a dark, ugly patch on the landscape, a wound he called the burn scar. Wounds, however, heal. He expected to see the ash wash away with the rain, to see the first green shoots of new life emerge. But the burn scar didn't heal. He first noticed it through his binoculars a week after the fire. Nothing had changed. Not a single charred needle had fallen from the dead trees. The ash on the ground lay in the exact same pattern left by the firefighter's boots. He checked his photos. It was identical. A week later, still the same. Animals gave the area a wide berth. Birds would fly towards it, then veer off sharply as if hitting a glass wall. The burn scar was a static photograph in a world that was constantly moving. He reported it. His supervisor, a gruff voice named Yuri on the other end of the radio, laughed it off. "Too much time alone, Owen," he'd said. "You have tower fever. The forest will fix itself. Just watch for smoke." But Owen knew what he saw. The rhythm was broken. The forest's breathing had a hitch in it. And he had to know why. Breaking every protocol, he packed a day's worth of supplies, locked the door to his tower, and began the 5-mile hike to the burn scar. The deeper he went into the taiga, the quieter it became. First, the birdsong vanished. Then, the buzz of insects. Finally, even the sound of the wind in the canopy died away, though he could still see the branches swaying high above. He was walking into a vacuum of sound. By the time he reached the edge of the burnt-out area, the silence was absolute. It was a physical presence, pressing on his eardrums. The air was unnaturally cold and perfectly, terrifyingly still. He took a step into the burn scar. The sensation was indescribable. It was like stepping out of a current. The constant, imperceptible forward momentum of existence was gone. He felt no breeze, smelled no wood smoke, felt no warmth from the sun on his skin. He was in a place that time had forgotten. He reached out and touched a blackened branch. It should have been brittle, crumbling to ash. Instead, it was hard and cold as iron. He knelt and scooped up a handful of ash. It didn't feel like ash. It had no texture. It was just matter. He took a pine cone from his pocket and let it go. It dropped about a foot, then stopped, hanging in the dead air, perfectly motionless. He stared, his mind refusing to process what his eyes were seeing. Then he saw the deer. It lay at the far edge of the zone, half in, half out. The back half, lying in the living forest, was a horror of nature at work. It was decayed, scavenged by predators, covered in flies. But the front half, the part lying within the burn scar, was pristine. Its fur was perfect, its eye wide and glossy, a light frost clinging to its muzzle. It was frozen mid-stride, as if it had been running and simply stopped. The line between the decay and the preservation was as sharp as if drawn by a surgeon's scalpel. The horror that seized Owen was cold and pure. This wasn't a place that was frozen. This was a place where the rules had been broken. A place where effect no longer followed cause. The engine of reality had been shut off here. His eyes were drawn to the center of the clearing, to the exact spot where the lightning must have struck. There was no crater, no fused earth. There was only a patch of ground, perhaps 10 feet across, that was perfectly, featurelessly black. It didn't reflect the daylight. It didn't have texture. It was a hole in the world. A wound not in the forest, but in reality itself. And he felt a pull. It wasn't physical. It was a pull on his mind, on his soul. A deep, seductive whisper that promised an end to struggle. An end to aging, to pain, to the relentless, exhausting march of moments. The stillness was offering him peace. The kind of absolute peace from which there is no return. The thought that broke the spell was simple. It's bigger. The clearing. It was bigger than it looked on his maps. This thing, this stillness, was growing. He turned and ran. He didn't stop running until he burst out of the silent zone and back into the living world. The sudden rush of sound, the wind, the birds, the frantic beat of his own heart, was so overwhelming he fell to his knees and threw up. He scrambled back to his tower, not caring about the branches that whipped his face. He got on the radio, his voice shaking. He didn't try to explain the hanging pine cone or the half-rotten deer. He just screamed about a dead zone, a spreading contagion, that the area needed to be quarantined now. He resigned his post, effective immediately, and demanded an evac. Owen lives in the city now. He can't stand the quiet. He sleeps with 3 fans running, the TV on, and earbuds playing white noise. He needs a constant wall of sound to keep the memory of that perfect, silent stillness at bay. Every morning, he logs onto a public satellite imaging website. He types in the coordinates for station K7 and looks at the small, grey patch on the vast green carpet of Siberia. He tells himself it's just a trick of the light, a low-resolution image. But he knows the truth. Every day, the wound is a few pixels wider. He knows the great filter isn't a war or a plague. It's a quiet, creeping emptiness. An offer of peace that the universe will one day be too tired to refuse. And it's growing.